SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Have you been seriously injured? Mama Justice is here for you. Our medical team partners with top-notch doctors, surgeons, therapists, and urologists, ensuring a comprehensive recovery journey. If you've been injured, call Mama Justice today. We're here for you.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. Hello. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Midday SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, on location today on the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. Rhino, safe and sound, back in the SuperTalk headquarters. We'll be guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this
Friday Eve.
We kick things off today with the governor of the great state of Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves. Governor, good to see you, sir, twice in a week, man. And true to your form, hyper-focused on growing the state's economy, and here you are today. This is becoming a critical component of our economy, the defense and aerospace industry.
There's no doubt about it, Gerard. It's always good to be with you. We did have an opportunity to spend some time together in Madison County a couple of days ago, and now to be back down here in beautiful coastal Mississippi is great. But look, the aerospace and defense industry is critically important not only to our state's economy, but it's critically important to the defense of our nation.
Right.
And one of the things that we're seeing with President Trump is a renewed focus and a renewed commitment on ensuring that we have military readiness. We live in a complicated world. We've seen it with what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, what's happening in Gaza with Hamas and other terrorist organizations. And it is incumbent upon all of us as Americans to make sure that we can protect our shores and protect America. And the reality is, you take that combined with the fact that what we do in Mississippi is we make stuff. We make lots of stuff. We're really well positioned to see even more growth in an industry that already employs tens of thousands of Mississippians. And the great thing about the aerospace and defense industry is the jobs that they have pay very good wages.
Well, it's a high-tech industry. As technology, as you know, is being infused into every discipline, every endeavor, every aspect of society. Defending our nation requires more, though it's critically important, than physical assets of ships and airplanes and even military personnel. Governor, you know this, the next war may be fought in the cyber world.
There is no doubt about that. And look, there are some that would suggest to you that we are already at war with China in the cyber world.
No doubt.
And I think there's a very
Russia
strong,
too.
There's a very strong argument to be made there. And so I think as you see some of the investments that we're making in Mississippi in the cyberspace and cybersecurity, it's critically important that we have the assets needed to train our military. We just recently announced the start of a buildup of a facility here at Keesler in Biloxi, where we're going to train the vast majority of the Air Force cyber folks are going to be training here in Biloxi. You know, Keesler's a huge asset on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Keesler was actually begun in 1941, in the summer of 1941, during the early stages of World War II, and it's been here ever since. and it is incredibly important to our nation's defense. It's incredibly important to our Air Force. They have great health care there at Keesler in the hospital facility, and so again, it's just military is extremely important, whether it's the active duty military, our great National Guard with our Adjutant General Bobby Ginn, who is actually here.
Saw him earlier.
Here today. I mean, this whole community works together for the betterment of our nation, which leads to economic opportunities for our people.
And it truly does require coordination and collaboration, Governor, between the private sector, the public sector at the federal level, at the state level, and, of course, our education community as well. We should point out that nearby Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College actually trains lots of the staff from Keesler on cybersecurity.
No doubt. You've got reality is that Mississippi Gulf Coast Community Colleges trains a whole lot of shipbuilders at Ingalls as well.
Exactly right. Yes, sir.
It is across so many different areas. And you mentioned that collaboration between the public and the private sector. Obviously, I'll just use Ingalls as an example because I met with them recently, and they have almost 13,000 private sector employees that work for them building ships. But on any day, there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Navy personnel that are on site because those are the individuals that are going to actually utilize the big warships that they are building at Ingalls. And so it is a constant collaboration.
Yes.
And one that benefits us because we're good at that, because our people are so patriotic, they're prideful in the jobs that they are doing to protect our nation, and this industry has played a critical role in what has been a unprecedented economic run in Mississippi.
You've been rightfully touting the tremendous success we've had in attracting new industry and capital investment in our state at historic levels, honestly, and you've been hyper-focused on this, and you told us this, I mentioned this the other day, you told us this when you ran for governor in the first term. The rest of the country and even the world are not only recognizing our success with the Mississippi Miracle in education, but what we got going on here from a business perspective too.
No, we're seeing more and more companies around the country and more companies around the globe that are hyper-focused on looking at ways in which to bring jobs back to Mississippi. President Trump said that one of his primary goals was onshoring. We're going to reshore jobs that currently are not in America and bring them back to America. What I've said is I want Mississippi to be the #1 destination for those jobs. And what we've already seen is that in 2024, Mississippi saw onshoring, wherein we had the 7th most jobs created in 2024. And in the first quarter of 2025, we had the 3rd most jobs brought back to Mississippi than of any other state, and we're only 3 million people. We're 1% of the population, but yet we're onshoring jobs at a rate that is faster than 47 other states, because that's what we do. Again, we make stuff, we build stuff, we've proven that to the world, and more CEOs around the globe are very interested in what we're doing here.
And Governor, you and I both heard from these business executives, these decision makers that have never been into our state, and they come here and they meet our great people and they see the great businesses that are supporting and necessary for them to achieve their efforts and necessary to achieve their goals. Something's going on.
Look, our greatest asset, I said this to the group earlier this morning, our greatest asset in Mississippi is our people. Because once we ever convince someone, whether it's a tourist or a CEO, to come here once, they tend to really like what they see.
Yes, sir, you're right.
And they like our employees because our employees show up early, they stay late, they take pride in what they're doing, and you just don't get that everywhere in the country. We'll just put it that way.
We have a great work ethic. We have a family-oriented community. We have a religious community as well. And thanks to a great extent to your leadership, we've created an environment that is conducive to business formation and business growth.
No question, and we're just going to keep building on it, and that's what I'm most excited about. We're just going to keep building on it. We've got available power, we've got water, we've got we've got people, and so we've got opportunity, and people are going to take advantage of it.
You got anything to announce for us today?
Well, I am going to have a press conference here in about an hour and a half, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be announcing a new initiative, which again helps strengthen those partnerships, and it's an initiative that will help support our military, our defense communities throughout Mississippi's Gulf Coast region. I created the Governor's Office of Military Affairs back when I became governor 5 years ago, and so now this is just another partnership with the local community and the military world to show how important it is to Mississippi's economy and how important it is to our nation's defense that we work together.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look forward to that announcement. Governor, thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. This looks like it's shaping up to be a fantastic symposium. As you mentioned, critical to our economy. Thanks for your leadership, sir. I think the best is yet to come.
Thanks so much. The thing I'll say about this symposium is there's a bunch of smart people in that
Very smart people.
in that room right there.
Right about
They're doing fun and neat stuff.
You're right about that. Right here in Mississippi, we should point out. We appreciate the governor of the great state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, for kicking us off on Middays today. We're at the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium at the Golden Nugget on the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast. We've got Mayor Fofo Gillich of Biloxi coming up in a couple of segments. Stay with us. We will return.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Gerard Gibert. He keeps his classified documents right where they belong. Inside a Journey record jacket from the 1980s. Gerard Gibert. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. Once again, we're down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Beautiful morning to travel from central Mississippi, headed down to the coast. Sort of light traffic, I would say. Of course, when you leave at 6:30 in the morning, the traffic's usually pretty light. But I will say this. It sure is nice to have that Highway 49 stretch just south of Jackson, all widened and completed with the orange barrels and cones out there for a long time. But, man, that's in the books. We appreciate our Department of Transportation for completing that quite onerous undertaking. That was a challenge, no doubt about it. But it is great to travel that area through the state. We're down here again at the Golden Nugget. That's where the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium is being held. We've got the mayor of Biloxi, Fofo Gillich, joining us in the next segment. And as the governor said, Rhino, a bunch of smart people run around this place today, no doubt about it, involved in this industry, and it is a major part of the economy here in the state of Mississippi. And of course, we got the nearby Ingalls on one side of us, and on the other side, again, I can't say enough about Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, having been here last week for the AI Task Force meeting. Very impressive programs, suite of programs that the college is offering, and the Cybersecurity Center in particular is particularly impressive and services our law enforcement agencies throughout the state. And also, again, as we mentioned, services Keesler Air Force Base, airmen and officers involved in protecting the nation from cyber attacks. Of course, that is a big part of the function of our military and armed forces, and they're doing some really cool stuff there over at Gulf Coast Community College. So, speaking of defense, the president says that he's not going to provide any Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. He said that these weapon systems are perhaps too complex for the Ukrainians to handle and operate, that it takes months for anyone other than American soldiers to be trained on them. And so he's actually receiving some praise from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte yesterday, said that it's the right decision. So I think a couple of days prior to that, Rhino, the announcement was out that this country was going to supply these very sophisticated, powerful Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine to fight Russia. But the president had to change of heart and is not going to do so. And the other thing, of course, is that is that Russia doesn't seem to be backing off, that they continue to press forward with their war efforts. The president indicates frustration with Putin. He's frustrated with both of them, honestly. Zelensky as well, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight to the conflict at this point. We certainly shall see. In the meantime, here at home, the Senate rejected funding plan number 12. I'm laughing about it because it seems like an exercise in futility, does it not, Rhino? It's like, you know that this thing's probably not going to pass, but I guess we're getting it on the record. So now we have reached a point where 23 days of shutdown, counting today, is the second longest shutdown in history, the record of 35 days, 12th time. Now the Senate has failed to reach an agreement. You need 60 votes, as you know, over there in the Senate. 54 voted to end the shutdown and fund the government, 54 total senators. That's really the result we've experienced in the previous 12 votes dating back to September 19th. All Republican senators support the measure except for one, I believe, and that's Senator Rand Paul. All but a handful of Democrats oppose it, and it just doesn't look like it's going anywhere. So on the 21st, couple of days ago, the president said he was going to meet with Democratic leaders only after they approved the GOP continuing resolution to allow the government to temporarily resume. But at this point, the Democrats have not indicated an interest in meeting with the president. So it just seems like that it's more of the same. We don't seem to be getting close to resolving the shutdown issue. You know, I am worried about how this could affect lots of things in the country. And I know a lot of people are looking at the situation right now and say, hey, look, what does this tell you about the value of the government when it's shut down and most people aren't feeling any of the consequences of that? But I think we might start to. And I'm concerned about air travel in this country. I mean, it would cripple our economy and lots of other activities if air travel starts to shut down because TSA and air traffic controllers aren't getting paid and they just no-show. Already they're having some issues with some of those folks calling in sick. But I started thinking about that, Ryan. If the air traffic controllers were illegals, they'd be getting a check. But because they are American citizens, of course they fall off the priority list. I mean, that's where we are with the Democrat Party today, where they totally prioritize illegals and criminals in this country. And American citizens, and in particular law-abiding citizens, they take a back seat. That's how sick things are. So there's an article in the Boston Globe. You guys know I track that on a regular basis today. And it's about how federally funded programs that help families in Massachusetts, they help families across the country, honestly, face cuts in November because the government shut down. And I started looking at all these various programs. Man, I don't know. No wonder we're broke. when you start looking at all this stuff. So you got the Massachusetts Home Energy Assistance Program. There are programs like this across the country, and they receive federal funds. They match some state funds. They provide subsidies to households for energy, especially in the winter for their heating bills. You got all these Head Start programs that provide education, health, and nutrition services. Massachusetts, they say in this article, 3,000 young children rely mainly on annual federal grants. So I just got to say something here, and I know some people may be upset about this, and maybe it sounds callous, maybe it sounds uncaring. Am I wrong, Rhino, in saying, why are you having kids if you can't feed them? Isn't there something wrong with that? Don't they get that? You got to have money to feed children, and you're relying on the federal government for the very basic need of a human being, which is food? Good thing air's free because they'd subsidize that.
It's because it's generational. You now have multiple generations that never had to have that thought cross their mind because of over-generous benefits from taxpayer dollars.
Unbelievable. And you know what bothers me? You may have seen this as well. There's, I can't remember what country it is that says, I think it's a European country, that is just eliminating income taxes in that country for those families that have two children. And I've seen conservatives in this country support that idea because it is true. Our birth rate is declining. It is of concern. We do need to address it. But aren't we just continuing the cycle that's caused exactly what we're talking about here? We have these giant complex of grants. I mean, it's Byzantine, all these grants. It just makes your head hurt. And we're just doling all this money out. And then you wonder how much of that's being skimmed and being filtered and being scammed, a bunch of it. And I don't know. I just don't think that's a good idea. I really don't. I get it. You think, hey, this incentive would perhaps promote procreation, but is that how we need to do it? Why don't we think about other policies that help people get employed and become self-sufficient and take care of their own families?
Because for generations they haven't had to, so they're not going to without force.
Man. Well, I don't support this idea of all these incentives, I got to tell you, to have kids. I think that's just sort of continuing what has caused the problem we're talking about now, which is all these people are so heavily reliant on these multitude of government grants. We're stepping aside for a break at the Aerospace Defense Symposium. Mayor Fofo Gillich is next.
The stories that matter most to Mississippians. Gerard Gibert, Middays with Gerard, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We are live at the Golden Nugget Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. We're pleased to welcome now the mayor of Biloxi. It's Mayor Fofo Gillich. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for coming on.
It's happy. I'm really happy to be here at this site, in Biloxi. But this in particular was the site of my grandfather's cannery.
Oh, wow.
Seacoast Packing Company, the site of my first job. literally where we stand. I was a can catcher. And I tell the story. I mean,
that's fine. I love it.
Over, but some of my friends, as I was mayor, talking about how I'm on top of the world and everything. I said, well, let me give you a picture. I said, my first job that I got paid, I was 12 years old. About 4 or 5 of my first cousins would man the can catching operation. So as shrimp were put in the can and topped, we would take them off the can, put them in a rack, and pressure cook them. I said I was making $1.25 an hour back then. That's what I'm making now. So don't give me any flack about that.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that story. So this symposium, how great is it to have all these smart people descend upon your city here, Mayor?
I'm telling you, it's awesome. It does bring me back because, you know, in prior to mayor business, I was in the software development business,
Right.
and, you know, working at the Space Center, working for a supercomputer manufacturer, Control Data Corporation.
Yep.
But as my oldest child was born, it was time to come back home. In computers, I was one of 6 technical and scientific programmers that used computers to build ships, and that was the first DD-963 and the LHA 1 through 4, and we literally I was one of 6 technical kinds of. So I was working, and I'm young, 22 years old. I mean, it get your juices flowing on some of the things that need to be done. So I love it. I've got to, you know, sharpen a little bit more my coding skills. So I'm ready to go back to work.
Well, you know, every time you come on and you talk about the controlled data, it brings me back. It makes me a little nostalgic because, you know, I've been in the industry since the early 80s of 1980 to be exact, and I remember when controlled data was a major player in the supercomputer and mainframe world.
CDC 6600 was the first. Literally, I did my homework on at a data center called Gulf Gate Data Center by CDC, and you know, I worked 8 to 12. So I'm using actually what was noted as the world's first supercomputer to do homework.
Right. To do your homework.
I did.
That's amazing. So, wow, we've come a little way since then, but this industry is pretty critical to the state. It's critical to the coast.
No doubt. I mean, it's exciting too. I mean, you know the reach. We're globally. You know, we're developing some. You know, develop applications, think of applications, deliver the applications. They're now global. Boom. Yeah. And you know, with the opportunity from a business standpoint, I wish I would have learned when I was, you know, deploying software across the country. What didn't click with me was fee for service.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to write you my software. But you're not going to pay me for per seat or per site.
Right.
Hey, you use my intellectual property. It's just now. I mean, I didn't, you know, dawn on me, but that's, you know.
So I don't know, and if you've been keeping up with it, but even the companies that supply and provide the on-premise technology, even if you consume your applications through cloud architectures, you still got to have a fairly sophisticated network on site and end-user devices. Even those are moving to subscription-based models.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, you know, I know what it takes to do, you know, to do this stuff, and you know, it's sort of, but you know, that's you learn these things.
Yeah.
But it's still so dynamic, and if you could convey that opportunity to our younger kids, they'd be writing code tomorrow.
There's no doubt about it.
And now the benefit of what you and I have you know, going through.
That's right.
This is where you really, you know, you talk about pennies turning into a bunch of money. You know, when you're using, you know, transaction-based stuff.
That's right.
But anyway.
We didn't see that back then, did we?
No, absolutely.
We had no idea. I mean, you knew that it was keep headed this way, but not to the extent it is today.
We deployed some point-of-sale kinds of stuff that you know, is based on credit card transactions. This is in the 80s, okay? You know, when credit cards were still getting it. But you know, it scratched the surface, but I didn't catch it and run with it. But I'm telling you, I'll emphasize that as if people ask me.
Oh, well, the neat thing is, you remember in our day, you had to be a fairly sizable company with sufficient revenue and financial wherewithal to acquire these systems to just take care of your transactions.
That's it.
Now everybody can, regardless of size. We push the price down so much, everybody has access to essentially a one-man shop to the technology that we were putting in big enterprises 30 years ago.
That's right. That's right. Well,
it's incredible. But that's also the result of a lot of the foundation that folks in our generation created. They just took that and ran with that and built upon it. But our economy's benefiting from it.
Right. No question. We did what we thought we could do.
That's right.
But now that it is open so much.
It's unbelievable.
You know, you're talking about these applications of what we're talking about with defense. But, I mean, it's still, you know, capital. Okay?
Yeah.
So if through our creative thoughts in intellectual property, it's only fair to say, I mean, it's wide open. So I mean,
that's right.
From capitalistic situation, that's the beauty of people. You know, if you and I would develop some applications, and it could cross, you know, a number of these industries, we would.
Unbelievable opportunity.
No question about that.
Well, I like to say that the folks who are really producing lots of wealth for themselves and their companies, they're leveraging the tools that have been created through the generation. That's all they're doing. They're really just taking advantage of all those tools, and in many cases, creating more tools with them.
Well, the AI. I mean,
exactly.
You and I know with a database and a way to generate some code based on different interactions. I mean, it's I don't know how much coding you have to do now with AI.
Not so much anymore, but you got to know how to instruct the tools to create the code.
You know how to define the problem and say this is what I need.
Well, that's how I've always kind of differentiated between the analysts and the developers.
Yeah.
So the analysts sort of have the architectural mindsets and capabilities and design all that, and the technical folks turn that into code. I think it's the turning it into code part that AI looks like it's on the track to replace.
I think it's just the ability to user interface and define things. I went through something with TalkPal, and the ability not to have to touch a keyboard, almost not to have to touch a screen. Touchscreen changed the world anyhow.
That's right.
We implemented it first time in school history in the lunch service line, this point of sale line.
Yeah.
But now you don't have to, with the right. TalkPal, I'm trying to learn Croatian, and so it's interviewing me, and I'm not, like I was talking to you, and it said at the end of the dialogue, what kind of thing you learned. It says, okay, now you read this back to me, and you get into Croatian, and you say the wrong thing. No, you got to say it again because you said it wrong. That's like you would be teaching me, and that's the beauty of it.
That's right.
How you pull it together.
I agree. Well, all right, so we got to talk about the city. How are we doing?
We're doing good. We finished, good, successful cruise in the coast. It's a challenge. We got 10,000 people and 10,000 cars, and with just significant nonstop stuff. And we got a tremendous amount of events, on the radar, and trying to do a Formula One boat race here in April, which is significant to a boat racing used to be a big thing here when we were kids and up into the 90s. But we do have the best opportunities in the world. We almost got to have we have a gallery. If you look at 5,000 or 6,000 hotel rooms and
you do.
areas to do it.
Yeah. Your finances in good shape?
Well, could be better. Everything could be better.
Yeah.
But it's I'm not shaking, if you know what I mean. But we need to, especially here, we need to convince that some of the investment will pay double and triple, and it's always a challenge to bring roads and extensions and off ramps and stuff like that. But literally. It makes the blood flow through the veins and the arteries. You have to have those things. So it's a challenge to get a new bridge here or a causeway. That's my challenge. Just give me some extension. We're trying to build finish up a $30 million Pops Ferry extension. Which now takes highway. Now you can take Highway 90 to Pops Ferry and then eventually up to 67.
Okay.
But those are projects worth $200 million. Now they're $500 million.
Man.
And I don't have that. We can't generate enough tax revenue, but it takes somebody foreseeing, and we're excited about Keystone and some of those things that are coming.
Yeah.
But you got to have that infrastructure. You got to have the ability to say, come, invest here, and life. We're probably sitting on the best, quality of life as well as cost of that quality than anybody. And it's my challenge to, convey that to when there's some dollars available to parlay that.
Yeah, sure. So, well, I think you've done a great job because
thank you.
I know every time I come down here, I see the construction, I see the growth, I see the traffic and the congestion, and the parking lots are all full. Looks like everybody's in good shape. We got about 30 seconds left.
Well, it is good. I mean, but it's always a challenge.
Sure.
With new we got 4 new members of the city council, so it's sort of a re-education and a rethought process. But it is always a challenge to have the continuity to say this is our mission. This is what we got to do this year. And if you miss a legislative session once or twice, it kind of triples up as far as. Intensity. But
they'll be back down there in January, and I know you'll be working with
it. Right around the corner. Right around the corner. So.
Mayor Fofo Gillich of the great city of Biloxi has been our guest on Middays. We're at the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. We're coming back with Lila Hamden, Associate Vice President for Research, Coastal Operations at USM. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is
Days with Gerard.
Good for America. Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Mississippi Gulf Coast for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's our pleasure to welcome now Layla Hamden, Associate Vice President for Research, Coastal Operations, the University of Southern Mississippi. Layla, thanks for coming on.
To the top. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so tell us how you're involved in this symposium today. What are you talking about, and how are you connected to it?
Yeah, so USM has a lot of connections to the symposium today. We're co-hosting. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. We're co-hosting the symposium, and we're leading several panels throughout today and tomorrow, all focused on innovation around aerospace and the ocean, and trying to help both those sectors as well as the defense sector understand that USM is here, that we've got tremendous resources to support all of those sectors and bring them into Mississippi and into the great work that we're doing at the University of Southern Mississippi.
So are these organizations in defense, for example, and companies that are supplying technology to defense, they seeking you guys out, or are you seeking them out? How do you get together?
I think that in any kind of good relationship, it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
You both should be coming to the table in search of something. Maybe we don't always know exactly what it is until it starts with a conversation. And symposia like this are great because that's where, those conversations really start.
Sure.
USM, has a long history in supporting defense research, spanning sea to space. Excuse me. We've had marine science departments, coastal science departments engaged in all of this, going back 30, 40 years, and a physical presence at Stennis Space Center. And so, we're always seeking out opportunities to collaborate in basic research, but a lot of times industry is looking for those fundamental ideas that they can take and, transition the technology and then put it in the hands of the government so that we can move ideas into concepts, into operations ultimately. So I think it's a three-way search and discover, and we've got the places to do that search and discovery right here on Mississippi's Gulf Coast.
No doubt. It seems like that, and I've mentioned this to various individuals that are part of the education industry and community, that there's more collaboration than ever between education, the private sector, and government. It seems like there were always kind of firewalls between those entities, those institutions historically, but I think we've seemed to have embraced the idea that we can create great things when we work together.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly. The firewalls or the silos. That is. I think that's been a feature of academic institutions, for the hundreds of years that they've existed, that you go to this place that we think of the ivory tower, and what happens there is for the sake of basic research or the sake of foundational research. But that creates not just a firewall between the university and industry or the government, it creates a firewall between the university and society.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the position that I have at the university, it's supporting our research enterprise. Our research is largely supported by the public investment in research through grants, through cooperative agreements. We should be serving society. We should be connecting with society, and the way that we can do that is working with those two other sectors, the industry and the government. And when we get together, there's almost nothing that we can't do.
No doubt. So the blue economy,
Yep.
you talk about that a lot. That is a big part of what you guys do
Yep.
at Southern Miss.
It really is. It's a big part of what we do, and we're leading in developing the technology-based blue economy, or the ocean economy as it's known, not just in Mississippi but throughout the nation. And one of the places that we're doing that is at the Roger F. Wicker Center for Ocean Enterprise. This is the physical embodiment of a public-private partnership that's located at the Mississippi State Port Authority in Gulfport. We have buildings, we have pier space, we have ships, we have assets, we have all of these things, but also we have the ideas that come together in a space like that. And we're, weaving those ideas into how we support national security, how we support national defense, and all of that connects to prosperity. And it's jobs for our students, it's businesses that we're bringing into Mississippi, and it all comes together in a really great idea space.
Yeah, and we're seeing the fruits of those efforts, because we've got lots of new businesses sprouting up around that industry, including right here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Exactly, and we're a big part of that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Layla Hamden from the University of Southern Mississippi, Associate VP, Research for Coastal Operations, rounds out hour one of Middays. Appreciate you coming on, Layla.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Once again, we're at the Golden Nugget on the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast in Biloxi, Mississippi, for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. We're stepping aside for a break. Fox News, SuperTalk News coming your way. We'll be right back.
Of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
That's what I like to listen to.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays. We're coming at you live from the Mississippi Gulf Coast for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Remote. Okay. Wrong headset again. That's the third time in my career I've done that. They're too close. We are... Alex is laughing at me, Rhino, because she's witnessed all three times. I put on the wrong dang headset. They're sort of close here in the quarters today, but we're back with you at the Golden Nugget in Biloxi, Mississippi for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. Rhino, once again, back at SuperTalk headquarters on this
Friday Eve.
That may be the longest entry to an hour I've ever had right there. Oh, my gosh. I apologize for that. Okay, so I just did a quick check of the markets there, Rhino. I always got to talk about your money. And started out mixed. The futures were mixed this morning between the indexes, and then they were in the red moderately. But now, what the heck's going on? They're both in the green. Well, the big two, at least the Dow and the NASDAQ, the S&P also. But I did a little check to see what the news is today that are driving the markets skyward. It's the big earnings week, and earnings have come in better than expected. Would be the third quarter, which ended the end of September. Third calendar quarter. It may not be the third fiscal reporting quarter for many of these corporations, but Coca-Cola, Lockheed Martin, 3M, GM, all had strong earnings. That's good to see because, honestly, the market gains over this year, which have been nothing short of monumental, have largely been driven by artificial intelligence and the explosion that is driving. particularly with respect to investment in IT infrastructure. And now we're seeing old stalwart, more legacy industries such as soft drinks, defense with Lockheed Martin, aircraft manufacturer, 3M. Nothing is more just sort of utility, almost secular in nature than 3M. And General Motors also, surprisingly, a couple of days ago, posted really strong earnings. So we've got a rebound from the recent sell-off, a bit of a recovery, and it's, again, being driven by strong earnings reports from these, I don't want to call them older companies, but more legacy-type industries. I would contrast that with companies that we didn't think about even being major corporations a short few years ago, such as NVIDIA, which is now vying for the distinction of being the world's most valuable company. So you already got strong earnings coming out of tech. IBM really shocked. Good to see. Good old IBM. Of course, the mayor of Biloxi, Fofo Gillich, and I reminiscing about the old IBM controlled data mainframe supercomputer days and Cray and so forth. But those companies, or IBM I should say specifically, really posted a strong report. But IBM is a major player in artificial intelligence. They have reinvented that company big time. They're still, of course, a large mainframe maker, the largest on the planet. And they're still, believe it or not, fairly strong business in that world. But the growth trajectory of artificial intelligence and all the products and services involved in that industry really is what drove IBM's top and bottom line. So good to see an old American technology company that is really, really doing well. Energy, oil prices are driving energy stocks, and here's why. The U.S. announced new sanctions on Russia's biggest oil companies. So domestic oil producers such as Exxon, Mobil, BP, Shell, they are benefiting from that. Check me out on that, Rhino. Last I saw this morning, oil of $66 a barrel just last week. We were reporting, of course, that it broke through the price per barrel of Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate, the two major grades of crude oil, broke through the $60 level, got down to, about $57. And, of course, that foretells of lower gas prices at the pump. But the sanctions that the Trump administration has imposed on Russia's biggest oil companies is causing the price of crude oil to rise. And so the domestic oil producers are benefiting from that. $66 a barrel is what I saw. So we're going in the wrong direction as far as the price of gas at the pump in that respect. Also, home sales, despite the fact that what the average price of a house in this country is about $400,000, that home sales posted an increase in September, a 7-month high, and that's to some extent because mortgage rates have trickled downward a bit, certainly off their highs. And then, of course, despite some earnings misses in the AI and tech industries, the underlying strength in AI and tech is still supporting the market. The outlook from those companies is still fairly strong. So the S&P, of course, up today as well. So just a little update on your money. You would like to take a look at your 401k accounts today. You're going to like what you see there, all looking good. Let's check out the C-Spire text line here. Ricky in Aberdeen. Yeah, we were just talking with the mayor about all this technology that has really sharply declined in price, making it available to any business, honestly, regardless of their size and scale and financial wherewithal, can afford technology that really just makes their businesses way more efficient and to a great extent powers their companies. Wouldn't even be possible without some of this technology. He says, we can run credit cards through iPhones now. Yeah. And that's, Ricky, you're right. That's not even anything that's terribly new. It's been around for a while, but to what the mayor was talking about, that was pretty novel technology when we were rolling out electronic credit card machines. It doesn't seem too long ago, to me at least, that when you bought something with a credit card, the old machines that swiped them, remember that? You always had to worry about the carbon copies, the 4-part copies of those credit cards. They'd stick them on there and move it over, and they'd have to stop and call to make sure you actually had available credit on your credit card before they complete a transaction. Think about how efficient that process is today. None of that's necessary, but more importantly, how even the smallest single-operator businesses can afford and access that technology. And that is a function of American innovation and capitalism. It just blows my mind that so many in this country seek to destroy the very economic system that enabled many of them to achieve their personal financial status. They don't seem to think about that, don't understand it. It's, Rhino likes to say, second-order thinking. Really is crazy. Thomas in Greenwood wants to know what happened to gold and silver. I think the run-up was a little frothy on gold and silver, and yes, it has pulled back precipitously. Typically, when you see a run-up on gold in particular, you expect to see a recession. That means investors aren't confident in other asset classes that are driven by economic growth and economic good times, economic good fortunes, and they feel like they've got to run and put their money in precious metals. Gold is usually the recipient of that. But that's pulled back because they've seen all these earnings reports, and they're looking for bad earnings reports to justify their positions in gold, and that ain't happening, which is really, really great. Mose says, I agree that we should not provide Ukraine with Tomahawks. We touched on that in the last hour. As far as Russia is concerned, we might have well launched them from our submarines. Yeah, totally true, Mose. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of supplying Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine as well. I don't trust them. I agree with the president and his inner circle who are saying we don't think that these guys are capable of managing those defense systems. They're very sophisticated, require lots of training and know-how. So I think that's the right thing to say, honestly. Hey, Tim from Tupelo just sent me a photo. He is wearing a beautiful Journey shirt. Appreciate that. Looks like the Frontiers logo there, Tim. We're coming right back, and Rhino's bumping us out with a little Journey. Stony Love. Coming right back. Stay with us.
The best made.
Now back to Middays with Gerard here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays. We're at the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. My apologies to Tim. I see that now. I was scrolling when we were going to break. It's the Evolution album cover, not Frontiers, which has got the robot-looking guy on the front of it. But appreciate you sending that, Tim. That is totally awesome. It is our pleasure to welcome now Frank Klein, the COO of Rocket Lab. Frank, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What do you think about this symposium? All these smart people gathered up together to talk about aerospace defense and how technology supports that, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely a great honor for me personally to be here. It's always great to be surrounded by smart people. It makes you look smarter. But no, I think it's absolutely essential. I actually had a panel discussion today really to talk about the impact of the space industry overall. That's going to be the next big industrial revolution. Seeing Mississippi being right there, having the governor's support, for all the companies to invest into Mississippi. I think that's where this conference is really focused on.
Yeah, it sure seems like that. And I think Mississippi, and get your reaction to this, is really well poised to participate in the upside of the industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we have been in Mississippi since 2022. We're using the Stennis facility to test our engines. When you go to space, you got to have engines, and
sure.
So we're using it from an engineering perspective. But certainly, after we launch our Neutron rocket, we'll be building engines at scale, and every single engine that goes to space will go through Stennis and will get tested here, will get approved before we actually put the engines into a rocket and go to space.
Interesting. So I remember back in when I was in grade school visiting the Stennis facility, and of course this was around the time the Saturn V rocket engines were being built, and that's what those things were gigantic. You really can't describe the size of those engines. Of course, the Saturn V is what took America's astronauts to the moon.
Yeah.
How has it changed? I know it has a lot since then, but how has engine design and architecture and just propulsion systems for rockets, how's that changed since then?
It changed dramatically. I mean, it literally took years to build these engines because the technology just wasn't there. If you look at our facility where we actually built the engines in Long Beach, we have massive 3D printers that are actually printing most of the components. We're highly vertically integrated. So in the past, you had to buy all the parts from all the suppliers. So no, I mean, the industry has changed. I mean, we're building engines at scale. I mean, when you just look at our Electron engines, we have so far built over 700 engines.
Wow.
700 engines. And now with the Archimedes engine, that's the big engine that we're using for our Neutron rocket, we need 10 engines per rocket. I mean, they're massive. I mean, I'm a tall guy, but when I'm standing next to the rocket, it makes me look really short. So, and just the engineering that goes into it, and they all have to operate. They have to operate when you launch. They have to operate in space. So that's just from an engineering perspective, for me personally, mind-blowing.
Yeah, and so, I would agree. And that same concept, and I think innovation principle, we could say, Frank, applies to lots of different disciplines. And what I mean specifically is just the cycle times from concept to final production. We're seeing that across all industries and all things we're making.
Yeah. I think that's also something. I mean, you have to invent things fast. You have to bring them to market fast, because there is a lot of competition out there.
Yeah.
I'm not only talking about competition in the U.S. I mean, everybody in the entire world understands the importance of space for communication, for security purposes. And so we're in a competition. So working together with the government, working together with all the institutions, with colleges to get the right talent, that's absolutely essential. But we don't have time. I mean, when you compare the space industry 50 years ago, it took years and decades to do all of this. Now we're talking about months.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. So, Frank, why should we continue to invest in this technology that allows us to further explore the frontier of space? Why is that important?
Well, I think because, as I mentioned, it is a big industrial revolution. And it's not just exploring space. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And we talk about going to Mars, going to Moon and all of this. Beautiful, we have to do this. But when you need to look at space as an infrastructure for communication. Because everything is getting connected more every single year. And in order to make that connectivity possible, you have to go to low orbit, to space. There are right now about 10,000 satellites out there. And that's just the beginning. 10,000 satellites. I estimate, and I mean, these are not public numbers, but I estimate that maybe in 10 years there are going to be 100,000 satellites out there. And these satellites have to be replaced on an annual basis. Just imagine they last for 5 years, so you can do the math. Every year you have to build 20,000 satellites. You have to launch them. So that infrastructure to launch them, to build them, to operate them, that's a big industry. And I want the U.S., I want Mississippi, I want everybody to benefit from it. And that's why we have to invest into this technology, and we have to make it happen, because if we don't do it, others are going to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And would you agree that the more we can kind of shrink the size of the planet from a communications perspective, where it's just as easy for us to communicate with people on the other side of the world with big volumes of information and data as it is for you and I to have this conversation.
That's exactly the way it is. And it's already the way it is nowadays. We heavily rely on copper cables that are in the ocean, but that's limited. You got to go to space to make this happen. And then soon, I mean, let's just the automotive industry. You have every year you build about 100 million new cars. They all will be connected via satellites.
Absolutely.
They will connect with with your watch, with everything. And that connectivity, that data requires a technology revolution, and it requires an infrastructure. And we're just building that infrastructure. So you have to see it as an infrastructure. Going to Mars and all these beautiful things, but building that infrastructure, that's the game changer.
So who are the customers for this?
All of us.
Okay.
All of us. Yeah, I think that's how you have to see it.
Okay.
We're all customers. Everybody who has an iPhone, everybody who drives the car, everybody who's using a computer, we're all customers of that technology.
Yeah, I agree. And I've always felt like if we could knock down those barriers, there were the distance connectivity barriers that produce latency, of course, but when we can eliminate that latency, it just opens up the door for the technology that's not even a twinkle in our eye today.
Yeah.
If you think about it. So I agree with you. So I read a report not so long ago that said that we're approaching a point where the average American home will have 400 things connected inside the home.
I agree. Yeah. Everything will be connected.
Yeah, totally
everything
agree.
will be connected, and the infrastructure is not visible anymore.
Yeah.
You know, in the past it was visible. You had your modem,
Physical.
you had your satellite dish, you had your cable. All of this disappears. It's not there, but it's about 200 kilometers up there in orbit. It's all the satellites that enable this communication.
Yeah.
And you got to have the rockets that bring these satellites up there. You got to have teams that write the software. You have to operate all of this.
Yeah.
And this is massive. We're talking about thousands of people working in that industry.
Wow.
And that's we're just at the beginning.
You know, I believe our space exploration and travel actually produced lots of technology that became kind of the foundation for more technology that's all been commercialized and industrialized today. Do you expect the same thing's going to happen here with the use of these tools?
Yes. I mean, it will benefit. Literally, it will impact everything.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is.
And there is a bit of a global race for this going on.
And there is. Yeah, there is. I mean, it's like I think we're one of the leading countries here in the U.S., but I mean, China is heavily investing into it. Russia is investing into Europe is investing into it. So there is a race. And if we are able to secure that technology using the brightest people, working together with all the institutions, with the government, we can win that race. It is a race. It is a competition.
Well, is it going to become a matter of fundamental national security to maintain superiority?
It as well, yes. I mean, we talked about the commercial applications, but that's absolutely for security purposes as well. To protect the country, you got to be in space. You got to know what's going on, and satellites are enabling that as well.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Yeah. Before we go, we've got about 30 seconds. Why Mississippi?
Well, I think Mississippi had an incredible infrastructure with Stennis, with NASA, and I think repurposing that infrastructure for our needs, working with all the different companies, is allowing Mississippi to grow. And it's just very friendly for companies, and we really appreciate all the support that we have received so far, and we're looking forward to getting more supports in the future.
Appreciate you being here. Frank Klein, COO of Rocket Lab, has been our guest on Middays. Appreciate it, Frank.
Thanks for having me.
We're stepping aside for a break. The governor and the press are assembling just off to my right here. I think we're expecting a big announcement. We're stepping aside for a break. Once again, we're at the Mississippi Gulf Coast for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. Stay with us.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from Biloxi. We're at the Golden Nugget for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. Just off to my right, the governor just made a major announcement. We've got the press release coming in, and we're going to pass that on to you, what that was all about. I feel certain it is related to the event and to the industry. This is really exciting to see, again, this brain trust assembled here in the state of Mississippi, and also saw the National Guard Adjutant General Bobby Ginn, walking around with his entourage as well. And so they're here, of course. They have a strong interest in aerospace defense and what's going on, everything related to defense. So this is just really good stuff. Love to see that going on in the state of Mississippi. And again, so many smart people all have descended here to the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast. Really cool. Good stuff. So as soon as I get more information from the press release and get the specifics there, we will certainly pass that on to you and see what that's all about. Let's see what else we got going on here. Ben from Madison says, your buddy Grant Callant wrote a great op-ed in the Magnolia Tribune. He did. He wrote an article. Grant, of course, the CEO of Empower Mississippi, and he wrote an article talking about education funding and how it's a myth. There's so many untruths and so many myths and so much misinformation. Honestly, Rhino, intentional disinformation that come from opponents of school choice that you have a hard time just keeping up with all of it. But one of the talking points you hear on a regular basis from school choice opponents is that there's some attempt on the part of those of us who have supported and advocated for school choice in the state of Mississippi for many years, seek to reduce, if not defund, public school education. That's just horse hockey. It totally is. And Grant Calland does a great job in his article of pointing that out with some detailed and specific figures concerning the rather sharp increase over the years in education funding in the state of Mississippi. Nothing could be further from the truth that those of us who support education choice seek to reduce funding, take away funds from public schools. Now, they make that argument because it absolutely is true that if parents had choice, the money would follow the student child to the school or the school setting of their choice, but that's one less student that the public school is educating. Does that require some second-order thinking to sort that out? And by the way, they still retain the local portion of the funding associated with that child. There's no shift in that because local funding comes primarily from property taxes, ad valorem taxes. You look on your tax bill, you'll see the three categories of recipients of your property tax payments, and at the top of the list are the school districts within that encompass the property. So it's just not true. Grant does a great job of outlining that and refuting those untruths, and we appreciate him and his efforts there. That was published, I believe, in the Magnolia Tribune. And so that's just not an argument that can be effectively made by school choice opponents because it's just untrue. The other thing that we all know is that not only in Mississippi but in this country, we continue to spend an enormous amount of money on public school education, more than, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, Rhino, more than any other country by multiples. And if you look across the country, you'll see some of the states where the spending is double what is spent in the state of Mississippi, yet the outcomes are not as good. And there's some other rather disturbing news lately about the number of our students that are graduating from high school that really aren't proficient in reading and writing the English language and doing basic elementary math. And that is really a concern, and it's something that we all as Americans should raise our hands about, that we're spending all this money on public education, but we're not getting the return we seek. It's also disgusting that the teachers' unions, the educational unions in this country, have such a stronghold on public education, and they're more concerned about the money they get and all the little stupid things they got to have to teach, and more concerned about indoctrinating our kids with all kinds of radical and crazy ideology than they are teaching them how to read and write and do basic math. And you can't really succeed in life unless you can do that. It sure makes it a lot harder if you can't do that. And, of course, we've got some states who are, more reports on this, who are extending deference to illegals in this country and allowing them to drive vehicles and obtain driver's license, and they can't speak or write English. That's understandable because they weren't educated in this country. They've never been instructed on the language. But it's even more disturbing, more worrisome that we have American students that have received such instruction in public schools, but they're graduating without these simple skills of just being able to read and write and do math. It's really, really despicable when you think about it. Darren in Jackson says you got to pay the school superintendents a six-figure salary. How dare you question results? You know, I'd be okay with the salaries. The market should sort that out, in my view, if we were getting our money's worth for it. What I can't appreciate is the bloated administrative expenses in our state and really across the country, but not really producing the results. It's absolutely true, and the governor rightfully touts this and calls attention to the amazing performance results improvements we have experienced in Mississippi at the fourth grade level in particular. We got some really smart fourth graders with the reading gates and not passing them on to the next level unless they can achieve certain proficiency levels. He's also calling for an increase in those standards. I'm with him. We should continue to move those standards upward. And so you don't go forward unless you can prove that you can read it right at the appropriate level. And if you don't take care of it at that age, it's really, really difficult to go back and try to make up for it. You learn how to read those first 3 or 4 years in grade school, but after that, you've mastered the discipline of reading, the act of reading. Well, then you move to reading to learn more math, learn more history, learn more science and other subject matters. So, man, it's just really a concern that we're graduating folks out of high school in this country that it's just amazing, cannot read or write, can't do math. And, of course, I hate to say it, but there's a racial component to this, is there not? That, we can't do that because you see all of the kids of this race and this ethnicity, they're doing fine, and these aren't. We can't let that happen. We've got to achieve equity, right? So we got to lower the standards. It's just ridiculous. We got to lower the standards, and we should also point out that in the state of Mississippi, a lot of these improvements we've seen and at the fourth grade level, the fourth grade reading level, which has garnered national attention. By the way, that also applies to our black and Hispanic students. So it's the left, white liberals in this country, honestly, that insist on diluting the standards. It makes them feel some sort of sense of virtue and nobility. Look what I've done. I've allowed these people to achieve these various result levels, even though they didn't really deserve it or earn it, but I feel better about myself. And all they're doing is hurting people in doing so, which is what all these numbskull leftist liberal policies do, especially all those that are rooted in this DEI. We should be focused on diversity of thought, not diversity of appearance. That achieves absolutely nothing. And forced diversity and forced equity is destructive. It doesn't produce positive results. We're stepping aside for a break right now. We are coming right back with more from the Golden Nugget in Biloxi on the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast. We're at the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. Stay with us.
Up of Mississippi.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium at the Golden Nugget in Biloxi, Mississippi. It's our pleasure to welcome now Sarah Doss, Executive Director, Aerospace Defense Alliance of Mississippi. Sarah, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to have y'all here.
So tell us exactly what the Alliance's mission is. Who are your members? What do you work for?
Yeah, so the Aerospace and Defense Alliance is a pretty young organization. We were born out of the Mississippi Enterprise for Technology about 2 years ago, and we were created so that we could give aerospace and defense industry in the state and companies that are interested in working with other aerospace and defense industries in the state a chance to connect and convene with each other. We can do marketing, lobbying, all the amazing things that 501c6s can do, and push everyone together and help them help large suppliers or large primes meet small suppliers, and help small companies meet those primes and get more defense contracts in the state, and have more aerospace and defense work here in the state.
Yeah. Understand.
So we've got about 65 members.
Well, I was going to ask you that. 65 members.
Yeah, about 65 members, a good mix of aerospace and defense primes to small contractors, and then some of our folks that we consider to be complementary to the space, so they might provide like a service, IT solutions, or cybersecurity, or the such for those types of companies.
Okay. So this symposium, I assume many of your members are here.
They are, yeah. Many members are here. Many folks that we hope will become members after attending this week.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking, of course, to the governor and the mayor of Biloxi, but we all observe lots of smart people here.
Yeah, no kidding.
This industry is really starting to trend upward in the state of Mississippi, and is, I think, on track to become a very critical aspect of our economy.
Yeah, I've really watched it grow over the last decade. Before coming to the Aerospace and Defense Alliance Mississippi, I spent 11 years at the Mississippi Development Authority, working in economic development and business development there. My last role actually was helping to recruit aerospace and defense companies, and then helping our existing industrial base there expand and grow through grants, loans, and all the amazing things that that MDA does and that the state provides to support those companies, but I feel like our mission kind of takes it to the next step. You know, we can help them get here and give tax incentives and grants and loans for infrastructure improvements in exchange for jobs and private capital investment. But they've got to keep those contracts coming, and they've got to keep working together and banding together and growing in that respect. And sometimes some of the most crucial defense suppliers that we have are the small ones, and they're not as eligible for those funding mechanisms that are available.
Today, Governor Tate Reeves announced Mission 3, which is a public-private nonprofit defense community support organization. How will that affect your members, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's going to continue to help support from the military installation level, which is, you know, always a top priority to make sure that they have a mission and a purpose, and that ties in so well with industry. It helps grow that workforce that we see flooding into the industrial base, and that's what I'm probably most excited about, is to continue make sure that we have those service members, and they have that mission and they have that training, so that when they can retire one day, they can come and support our industry.
Yeah. So one of the things we're seeing, it feels like, Sarah, more and more is just this cooperation and collaboration between the public and the private sector, and of course the educational community as well.
Yeah, and you've got the whole like trifecta here,
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly.
Whenever we decided to start having this conference about 3 years ago, we knew we wanted to include academia. We started with Mississippi State University because they work so well with industry, and they're such an important part of that trifecta there, and then the private sector and all of the industry that comes along with it, and then, you know, it's not possible without adding our federal and state government partners as well. So
yeah, the defense economy is certainly evolving, and I think it's expanding. This president's very committed to ensuring that we have a strong national defense, and
absolutely.
And technology is more and more starting to dominate what defense is all about, more so than tanks and boats and so forth.
Yeah,
and
we
airplanes.
find ourselves saying aerospace, defense, aeronautics, and technology.
Yeah.
More so, and really MSET's mission is driving more towards that space, and I think that that's really great, and I'm excited for y'all to talk to Davis in a little while about what that mission looks like, in bringing in the technology and bringing in those small those small technology companies that are so crucial.
Sarah, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to see y'all. Appreciate y'all being here.
You bet. Sarah Doss, Executive Director, Aerospace Defense Alliance of Mississippi, has been our guest. It's top of the hour. That means Fox News, SuperTalk News coming your way. We've got the afternoon hour of middays remaining. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply, and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is hour 3, the afternoon portion of Middays. We are now live from the Element Well studio, which today is a setup at the Golden Nugget Casino for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium on this
Friday Eve.
Yeah, man. We are rocking and rolling here. Really enjoyed talking to all these guests about the aerospace defense industry. Lots of technology folks here in the building, and it's been a lot of fun conversations. Really good stuff. So, yeah, back to not Mose, it was Ben, pardon me, that was telling us about the article that Grant Callen, CEO of Empower Mississippi, arguably the state's largest and certainly most active proponent of education freedom, education choice. The organization formed in 2014, and they have been championing those policies since then. I was honored to serve as the chairman of the board since inception until last year when I rotated off, and I'm still on the board. But we have a fantastic membership on our board, lots of really great, smart Mississippians who care about policies that will move Mississippi forward, including education choice. And, of course, Grant and his team do a fantastic job of advocating and championing those policies as well, working with lawmakers, being involved in drafting legislation concerning everything from income taxes and tax structure in general as one of the three mission areas of the organization is a category we call work, which really just includes everything related to economic policy, common sense criminal justice reforms, and then, of course, education freedom. And there's been lots of talk about that. As you guys know, in the off session, in between sessions here, is the Speaker of the House formed 4 task force committees, if you will, to focus on various critical subject matter areas and issues for the state, one of those being education freedom. They've been conducting hearings, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're scheduled to hear from the athletic department, the organizations within the Mississippi public schools, the Mississippi private schools, the MHSAA and the MAIS, the acronyms for those two associations. I think they're scheduled to hear from representatives of those two organizations just to make sure that when the legislature begins to draft education freedom policy, that their concerns are understood and addressed, and that's fair. You recall, Rhino, last year, Representative Jansen Owen's bill that would have prohibited a school from blocking the request for a transfer by one of that school's students to another public school. And that bill had some restrictions in it, and one of those was that you can't go out and recruit or accept students that wish to transfer to your school. That would be the target school, the transferee school, if you will, solely on the basis of athletics. And they would be responsible for reporting their capacity. They would not be required to take new students if they don't have room to bring them into the school and properly educate them. And they also wouldn't be able to go out and recruit or accept and approve applications for transfer, again, on the basis of solely of athletics. And they'd have to provide reports as well to the legislature on an annual basis of all the transfer activity. And they would have to show not only those, I believe, who transferred, but those who applied and were rejected. And so they would be accountable to the legislature in that respect. So I think there's a way to get this done. Other states have done it successfully. We're starting to stand out as white space, if you will, among states that have implemented universal school choice programs, which means that everybody in the state, a particular state, with a student in the K through 12 age range would have access to the state portion of the funding for said student and direct it to the education setting they feel best suits their student. That's all we're trying to do here. But Grant does a good job of explaining, there's no defunding or reduction of funding for K through 12 schools as part of the school choice programs. None whatsoever. That's just simply not the case. So can we get them just to tell the truth about that, Rhino? You think the folks that are in strong opposition to education freedom in Mississippi? Because this is one of the common refrains we hear, is it not? Oh, you're trying to take away the money from the public schools. It's just not true. Not true.
They'll keep beating that same stupid drum because stupid people believe them.
That's the unfortunate reality is, and that's why I'm pleased that Grant took the time to put that article together that's got some interesting explicit financial data embedded in the article, and hopefully they will see that. And members of our legislature that stand in opposition to school choice need to take note of that as well. I really don't want to hear them saying that, I oppose that because that take money away from public schools. Well, you're the appropriators, and that's not what you're doing. I mean, when I see that, I'm thinking, okay, well, that means the education budget's going down. Well, that's not the case. Now, we could certainly talk about whether or not it should. At a minimum, we got to talk about the way that money's allocated. I think that's a major concern among Mississippians, I being one of them, that we do have administrative bloat in our public schools in Mississippi. Look, we have it in our higher ed institutions as well, but it's more pronounced, I would say, in the K through 12 arena. And yes, there are opportunities to consolidate districts and eliminate some of that administrative overhead. But just in general, it feels like we got too many people in these public schools. I mean, back when I went to school, and I know I'm dated and things have changed, but geez, Ryan, I remember having a principal and some custodians and teachers. We didn't have teachers' assistants. We didn't have a bunch of other administrative positions. I just didn't have that. I don't know what's changed since then. Yet we're producing education outcomes that are deeply worrisome because our children can't read or write proficiently and can't do basic math. The New York Times even reported on this a couple of weeks ago. Said the U.S. military is seeing lower scores on its armed forces qualification test. Professors at four-year colleges are complaining that students have lost their reading and writing stamina. National test results for 12th graders just recently released, end of September, showed significant declines in students' math and reading abilities since 2019. And then, of course, you can't help, Rhino, but wonder, well, is that because you fools shut the dang schools down in the name of COVID, and then you had all this online virtual learning, and you spent most of your time, invested your cycles there, indoctrinating students with radical ideologies rather than teaching them how to do math and read and write? There is reason for suspecting a correlation there, for sure. There is one professor at Western Reserve University here that said, my students leave high school and don't have the capacity to read a 25-page article. They don't know what to do with it. That's from a humanities professor at Case Western Reserve University. And you know that's a widespread issue. That's not unique to that particular university, that has permeated and proliferated across the entire country. National test scores, reading scores, worst in 3 decades, and math scores, lowest since 2005. Wow, so even the old New York Slimes is reporting on this. Chief Executive of the Lumina Foundation, Jamie Marisota, says the U.S. is an example of frogs in the boiling water when it comes to talent. And this organization is focused on higher education and workforce credentials. Says the U.S. has a large and diverse economy. Quote, it's harder to see when the rest of the world is catching up. To our economy, yes, but the world's highest performance countries not only produce students who outscore the brightest American students at the top, they also manage to lift far more students up to a base level of skill, something experts say is going to become more important in the new world of artificial intelligence. Bottom line is we got to do better, and we got to get a better return for taxpayer investment in education. We're stepping aside for a break.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's do this.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays. We are coming at you live from the Golden Nugget in Biloxi. That's where we have moved the Element Wealth studio today. We're here for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. We welcome now Trey Smith, Director of Talent Solutions at Accelerate Mississippi. Trey, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, great to be here. Glad you had me on.
Yeah, man. So this ought to be a target-rich environment for Accelerate Mississippi. Lots of smart people running around and lots of organizations who need skilled workers.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what we just got through talking about in the main ballroom there. These are smart people indeed.
Yep.
Aerospace is a very highly skilled industry, and it's a lot of fun working with those folks because it does stretch what we currently have in our talent pipeline.
Yeah.
And so it allows us to do some different things, especially at Accelerate Mississippi, where we, traditionally are looking at, your welders and a lot of your skilled trades, and aerospace kind of takes that to a different level. Now, your shipbuilding side, it's a volume game, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's also a lot of advanced skill sets needed there, but it's volume and with some really, really cool needs that they have.
So, Trey, tell us exactly what your role is at Accelerate Mississippi as Director of Talent Solutions.
Gladly. So, the office was created 5 years ago, and then about a year and a half ago, we implemented this Talent Solutions piece of the office. Courtney Taylor became Executive Director in March of 24, and I came in April. It was on April Fool's of 2024, so I guess we're kind of seeing what that means. But so my role, come in and develop this customized training wing of the office to really attract companies to come to Mississippi. It's something that the state had never done. Other states around us, competing states, they have these services that allow companies to kind of pick and choose what trainings they need and develop training as they need. So we needed that in Mississippi. My background is in human resources and manufacturing, dealt with a lot of training, worked at Pearl River Community College, so got to see that side of the world. And coming over here to the state level, I can now work with these companies, and my team can work with these companies. They're looking at Mississippi, and we can tailor training programs to meet their needs. We can also help with the talent acquisition component if they're a startup and they don't have the HR team internally. So we can build all that out. We can build out the strategic plans. We can put it in place, and we can actually do it.
Yeah. So kind of a combination, if you will, educational arm and also some placement services sort of as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, so we're broken out. The office has 5 different divisions now. We're really looking at ways to, diversify our portfolio to be more efficient with how we handle all the different things that come through our office. There's a lot of dollars that flow through, federal dollars, state dollars. So we have a grants management arm that really handles the funding side. Then we have this talent solutions piece that's a pretty large part of the office now, because it's we see an opportunity to be very assertive and aggressive with economic development projects. But we have our workforce innovation department, and then we have data and insights. So we make all of our decisions are driven by data, of course.
Sure.
We have to be smart with how we're spending taxpayer dollars and how we're allocating those, and then we also have our communications department that's getting the word out on some of these programs that we put in place.
Yeah. So do you feel like that Accelerate Mississippi maybe fills a bit of a void that exists within the educational community, or are you more of an augmenter to that?
Augmenter, definitely. When I think about workforce training, because that's the space that I play in, right?
Yeah.
We have 15 community colleges across the state,
yep.
And they all have workforce departments that handle their existing industry. They work on these economic development projects too. What we're looking at is with the demand that we have in job growth and these opportunities of these companies looking at Mississippi to start doing business, there's a capacity issue. There's a bandwidth issue with existing infrastructure, with the training entities that we have across the state. So, we're here to fill those gaps, to help grow that capacity to be able to provide those trainings to all the new employees that we're going to have over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
We already have a gap. We've recognized that, but we know it's going to continue to grow, and so we're trying to be very proactive in how we attack that.
Employers today, they're really looking to hire folks that could come in and be productive, if not day one, in a very short period of time.
I've lived that life.
Me too.
Resources, and it's that you want everybody to be a purple unicorn, and they're going to jump right in and be the best, right? It's not reality. However, if we get to, and I'll just think about the K-12 space, specifically, maybe late junior high or early high school, if we can get to those students and educate them, expose them to what opportunities are out there. When I think about advanced manufacturing, there's some really cool stuff that we're doing from the north part of the state to right here in Biloxi, and they just don't know.
Yeah.
They have, and my kids included, they've never set foot in a manufacturing plant that we have today, and it's a lot different than where my grandfather worked in a paper mill, right? So it's just completely different. We've got to expose them.
Yeah.
We've got to give them those opportunities and those pathways, explain those. Career Coach program does a good job of reaching some of those students that otherwise won't know what's out there, right?
So when companies that are prospects to locate operations in Mississippi, maybe they're expanding into the state, or it could be a startup idea that's looking to create their company in the state of Mississippi. This is one of the things they look at very hard is just available skilled talent that they can bring on to staff the company.
100%. I like to think that workforce is the most important component of any economic development project.
Yeah.
Now, initially, that's not exactly true. They're going to look at infrastructure and supply chain capabilities. But workforce, when it comes to the table as part of that conversation, it is very critical, right? The people are going to be the most important part of their organization every time.
Yeah.
So at some point, they do get really, really interested in workforce. So it's critical that we have I guess that path to how they're going to hire the people and how are they going to train them. So providing that labor shed data for the areas that they're looking at is really critical. Looking at commuting times, which Mississippi is uniquely positioned because people are willing to drive 60 miles or more for a really good job. But the workforce component, it's key. We try to be very transparent with this is the realities of in certain areas, education system, and here are the things that we're doing as a state to address those gaps.
And it becomes a competitive factor when there are companies that are looking for a location to make an investment, and we're competing with other states, other cities in other states, other communities. That becomes a big factor.
100%. It's I was listening to Bill Cork last
MDA
week.
director, yeah.
Correct. He was talking about the project pipeline that they have, and it's pretty enormous.
Yeah, it's biggest they've ever had.
It's unbelievable. And I've always asked, we just need to be at the table early so we can understand and be proactive.
Yep.
I don't want any part of that volume right now. So we're brought in at the appropriate time, but we also learn when we lose a project to another state, there's various factors, but that can certainly be a piece of it is a concern about the workforce. So we do everything we can at Accelerate, partnering with the community colleges to ensure that, yes, we recognize that this is a challenge. If it's not enough people, if it's not enough of the right skill sets in that area, we do I think a really good job of explaining and demonstrating how we're gonna address that and how we're gonna eliminate that from being an issue with their company.
Yeah. And we're seeing, everybody I've talked to today, because we focused a lot on this event, which brings together the private sector, the public sector, the education community. That pace of collaboration seems to be strengthening and intensifying.
Yeah, it's so important. You know, I've lived in that private sector life. Now I'm on the state side, and communication is so important for these resources to understand what the industry needs are.
Right.
We have to hear it firsthand. And again, it's kind of an advantage in Mississippi too, is that we are small. Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Those face-to-face communications happen more frequently, say, in some of your bigger metropolitan areas in other states. So we're making very concerted efforts to get people together. We're hosting table meetings along with MEC and MMA in the next couple of weeks across all 8 ecosystems.
Yep.
And that's
Very
an
cool.
opportunity for industry to come in and tell us what they need, share best practices, and give us some takeaways that we can address to solve their problems.
Great stuff. Trey Smith
Yeah.
with Accelerate Mississippi, Director of Talent Solutions. Appreciate you coming on, Trey.
Hey, thanks for
a lot.
having me.
Yeah.
All
We're
right.
stepping aside for a break. Coming right back with John McKay, President and CEO of the Mississippi Manufacturers Association.
Middays with Gerard Gibert. It is on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I paid the bank note, the car note, and yes, I paid the phone bill too. And then I turned around and I found that the house note's due.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Golden Nugget in Biloxi. We're here for the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium. We're pleased to welcome now John McKay. He's the president and CEO of the Mississippi Manufacturers Association. John, always good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gerard.
So this looks like a well-attended event, and as I have observed with everyone that's been on, there's a bunch of smart people in here, aren't there?
You know, I was in the room earlier listening to a panel, and it was essentially three aerospace engineers up there, and it was very interesting. But man, they are sometimes over my head.
It's awesome, though. It's awesome. So the best part about this, in my view, and of course your organization, your members play a key role in this, is it's so good to see the public, the private sector, the education community and industry working together towards common goals. It wasn't always that way.
No, that's absolutely right. And it's not like it's a secret to the success, but that is the successful model. You have to get all of those key players to really push in the same direction. And you know, that's what we're seeing, especially in this defense and aerospace sector right now in Mississippi, and especially in South Mississippi, is the private sector money, that venture capital that is looking for quality investments. They see this as the model, and they see Mississippi as really doing something innovative with the key infrastructure we already have in place with Keesler and Stennis and all of the other assets of Mississippi. It's just primed to make those key investments now, and the trajectory we're on, you could really see some tremendous growth in the next 5 years.
And I think you would agree. We have to recognize that to a great extent, that's because our political leaders and our education institutions are willing to work and cooperate with the private sector. You don't get that out of all elected leaders. You know that. It's
100%. You had a representative from Andrel that was on a panel earlier, and he specifically said that. He said the reason we're in Mississippi, the reason that we've grown from a small operation in South Mississippi to what will be almost a 300 head count next year is the ease of doing business in Mississippi. That our policy leaders in this state recognize what it takes to grow and nurture a business. And in this space, that is key. I mean, all of the things they have to deal with on the regulatory side, I mean, can you imagine what
especially at the federal level, right?
Already at the federal level, and then you add a state like California on top.
Unbelievable.
You just can't be successful, and that's really why they've chosen Mississippi.
And over again, we hear whenever we secure these big investments in Mississippi across the industry spectrum, hey, we're here because of the ease of doing business and the speed to market. The governor likes to talk about that all the time, and he's absolutely right, because time is money, and the more time it takes you to get that investment to work, to produce a return, the more expensive it is, and it gets to the point where it's not even viable.
Absolutely, and I mean, you were just talking to Trey at Accelerate Mississippi, and that's another key component, whereas in other states you have these levels of bureaucracy that make it more difficult. Here, we bring everybody to the table and say, hey, what do you need? How can we help? Where can we plug in? We want to make it easier for you. So if you have a workforce need, we've got a plan for that. We've got the training partners that not only have the resources, but they're ready to go. And all we got to do is make a plan. I mean, those are the key factors for a lot of these companies.
I think also it's fair to say in some other states with a different persuasion of leadership, they see the private sector as the enemy. They see corporations as the bad guys, and all they talk about is how they exploit workers and buyers and consumers and the community in general. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, I mean, those states see the private sector as a meal ticket to pay for these other programs that, quite frankly, don't move the needle in a positive direction. And Mississippi has just said, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're going to invest in the key areas that grow the economy, and all this other stuff, we're going to let the private sector do what it does best.
Yeah, and so we're blessed in that respect. I think what we're starting to see is that big-time payoff.
Yep.
And I think that's really the difference. Let's talk about the manufacturing industry, a key critical industry, number 2, right, in of the various industry categories in the state.
Yes, and you know, obviously agriculture is a huge piece of the equation in Mississippi. But yeah, as far as private sector non-ag entities, manufacturing is at the top of the list. I think the last numbers that I get the monthly or quarterly reports from Employment Security, I think we were right around 150,000, just south of 150,000 direct employees in manufacturing, which is a great result. You know, but I mentioned it when I was speaking to the audience earlier. One of the things that you have to recognize with manufacturing is you should actually expect those numbers to trend downward.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of factors involved there, but just the nature of manufacturing and modern manufacturing is the pace of automation, the integration of AI into virtually everything now.
Sure.
That's all going to not only increase productivity, but it's not going to require as many people, but the people that we need to have different and better skills.
Yeah.
And that's such a key thing. And that's why I was talking with Trey on a panel earlier about how Accelerate Mississippi is really going to drive that trend going forward.
The governor rightfully likes to boast about tremendous GDP growth and GDP per capita growth we experienced in the last calendar year, 2024, second in the nation in both categories. And when you look underneath the covers there, you find that to a great extent driven by the expansion of manufacturing in the state.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm by virtue of my appointment by Governor Reeves, I'm the vice chair of the State Workforce Investment Board. And so Chairman Patrick Sullivan and I work closely on these issues. And I'll never forget one of the first meetings with Governor Reeves is he was adamant that everything that we did needed to drive an increase in household income in Mississippi, and the only way to do that is increase the skills, the training, and he has done it. And those numbers are things that we look at, that we track, and we measure ourselves by, and everything that we do has to go through that lens. And I think that was really a smart way to tackle. There's a lot of metrics that you can look at, and they're all important, but having more money in your paycheck every week, every month, that is something that changes people's lives.
No substitute for it.
That's right.
Schools are better, roads and bridges are better, less crime, more opportunity, brain drain. You just go down the list.
That's it.
Everything is better when those household incomes are rising. And I think you would agree, there ain't no law we're going to pass in the Capitol to make that happen.
No,
That's not going to happen. But what we can do is create an environment that's conducive to business growth and expansion.
And, you know, we have to, on the policy side, we have to create some uncomfortability.
That's right.
We can't keep doing it the way we've always done it. And for the most part, I think our partners and everybody involved in this space has really seen the need to go down these roads, and we're really moving the needle at this point.
I think so as well. All right, so anything on your radar for the upcoming legislative session?
Well, you know, there's a lot of issues. We are actively exploring some of those. I mean, obviously, we're going to be involved in workforce development. We've got a few things that we're going to be promoting on that side. You know, transportation infrastructure is always key. You know as well as anybody that education and school choice discussions are ongoing.
Yep.
You know, for me personally, as you know, we've talked about, we're going through the transition of merging MMA and the MEC into the Mississippi Business Alliance. And so we're actively working through how we come out with our legislative agenda on a pretty quick turnaround with this. We're 2 weeks in on the merger. So, yeah, we're actively talking to our new leadership and really getting all of the things in place for that. So really looking forward to that. That's an exciting opportunity to combine all economic sectors under one business group.
Can't get through a day, John, without talking about tariffs or tariffs being in the news. It's incredibly volatile. What do you remember saying?
Well, I actually just submitted a letter to Secretary Lutnick on the specific tariffs on some furniture manufacturing equipment. And so myself, the North Carolina Manufacturers Group, and the Wisconsin Manufacturers Group all signed a letter detailing some of the issues. If you say that we need to bring back domestic manufacturing, I am all on board and I am your partner. But if you say that we're going to tax and make more expensive the equipment that is needed to make that happen, and it's only produced outside the United States, we need to just have a plan to address that situation. I understand that we want to bring everything back, but we might have to look at a staged approach or some exemptions in certain areas. So in general, our members are supportive of the theory behind some of the tariff discussion, but we really just need to pay attention to the implementation and how we go about certain products that don't have a domestic supply chain.
That's a good point. A lot of moving parts.
It's very complicated.
Yeah,
so
I understand. Howard Lutnick, of course, Commerce Secretary.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, we are certainly proud of the manufacturing industry in our state and all the work you guys do, and the merger's going good. We got just a few seconds left.
Yeah, no, it's going great, but yeah, manufacturing is driving this economy, and we continue to see progress in that area, and I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. John McKay, he's the president and CEO of the Mississippi Manufacturers Association. We're down at the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium at the Golden Nugget in Biloxi. We got the final segment coming up next. Stay with us.
The best made to order.
Are we going to do this?
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Keep rolling. 3, 2, 1.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Call up Trudy on the telephone. Send her a letter in the mail.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays from the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium at the Golden Nugget in Biloxi, Mississippi. Final segment, we welcome Davis Pace, President and CEO of the Mississippi Enterprise for Technology. Davis, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah, man, this has been fascinating. I really enjoy the subject matter and talking to all these smart people and observing. You got lots of great exhibitors here from across the spectrum of industry, education, policy advocates, associations, et cetera. And that's what it's all about, is it not? It's bringing all these people togetger.
Man, this is the culmination of years of making friends. And
that's a good way to put it.
To your point, friends a lot smarter than me. And we're really
awesome.
We're really proud of it. We're really proud of our friends and proud to be able to find a way to promote them and promote the state.
Yeah. Well, Mississippi is well positioned for the future of this industry that is expected to experience fantastic growth.
it's really unbelievable. I mean, I've been in this role for 4 years, and in those 4 years, we have seen enormous investment from the private industry and our federal partners, right? I mean, they're coming in and they're spending a lot of money to develop the infrastructure that's going to lure and make this place a really attractive place for that industry to come in and park and set up shop and hire a bunch of Mississippians.
That's awesome.
So they can spend that money here.
Yeah, and as you know, lots of moving parts, lots of components, lots of foundational elements, but it looks like it's all coming together in the governor's announcement today.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Mission 3.
Mission 3.
Really cool.
We're really, we were really proud to have the governor here today. He's come the past couple of years, but this year he's using this as an opportunity to meet with industry, to find new ways to promote Mississippi. Mission 3 is an awesome thing. He asked to make that announcement today, and we were very happy to oblige him on that.
Yeah.
But Mission 3 is going to be a really cool thing for us. It's going to promote the new mission attraction for things like Stennis Space Center, Keesler, Camp Shelby, which again provides the infrastructure and the groundwork that industry wants to be able to come here and test their assets, test their capabilities, and then turn around and sell them to the warfighter.
Yeah. Well, again, it seems like we have all the elements, and when you see all these people coming from these different disciplines and arenas, all willing to work together and collaborate, we're a lot stronger when we work together as a team than we do when we're siloed off.
Amen. And, tonight we're hosting an event at the Roger Wicker Center for Ocean Enterprise. That's a USM facility at the port of Gulfport. And, Senator Wicker talks a lot about, and so does Governor Reeves, the triple helix, which is industry, academia, and government, trying to find a way to use their research to promote growth in technology, but also growth in the economy. And to see all those folks working together. Now, a lot of our Govy friends aren't here today because of the shutdown, but they're the ultimate beneficiaries for this of the actual technology, and then the Mississippians that are working there. It's an incredible thing to see these folks working together.
It really is. It's great. And our universities are cranking out these fantastic graduates, and we want them to stay here. We want to give them a place to work, and this industry is going to play a key role in that.
And I saw you had John here, John McKay, just a minute ago. He just led a panel right before he came on talking about just that. Trying to find a way to make sure not only that they're great graduates, but that they have the skills, right? That they have the practical skills that they need to be able to do the jobs that are here.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about our universities. I want to give some credit to our community colleges. These companies are looking for technicians just as much as they're looking for engineers.
Yeah, you're right.
And but you're right. I mean, our Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Jackson State, Southern Miss, and we can't argue.
Gulf Coast, down the street here at Community College, unbelievable what they got. I was here last week with the AI task force that I'm on for the state, and we got the guided tour throughout the entire campus. Incredible.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff in there.
It's unbelievable. The cybersecurity center, the big 3D printer, and the AV shop, and all that. So
we have the assets,
no doubt,
and it's finding the way. And this is our organization's mission, is to find a way to leverage those assets to create and retain high-wage jobs in Mississippi.
Yep.
And that, at the end of the day, if we can provide jobs so those graduates that you mentioned want to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, what's a greater mission than that, right?
No, I think
Making
it's
sure
fantastic.
that my kids, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. We're a long way away from that. But I want them to look around and be like, why would I leave?
Yeah. Well, what we all seek is a high quality of life and a high standard of living. We want to be safe, secure, and prosperous. This is how you achieve that.
That's right.
It's the only way to achieve it, honestly.
That's it. And we are so lucky. And, it's decades of great leaders in the at the federal level investing that money here. Legacy primes and other OEMs that are in our state they're hiring these folks and creating great jobs. I mean, we're on the precipice of something, and it's not, we've made all these strides, as you know, in education and other things.
Yeah.
We have a real opportunity here.
I think so too. Folks outside of Mississippi that maybe aren't aware of what's going on here, but when they come here, they see it, they witness it, they participate in it. They're getting the message. It's getting out there. We're on the top of the radar.
You're right, and I tell the story a lot, but I think it's relevant here. One of the, I won't name them, but one of the companies that's here on the coast, they're headquartered in L.A., but they do a lot of work here.
Okay,
and they, for a long time, they were telling me we really struggle to find people that want to come to Mississippi and do this work. But then they also said, but if we can get them to come once.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
If they come once.
They're hooked.
That's it.
I agree. Davis Pace, President and CEO of Mississippi Enterprise for Technology. Appreciate it, Davis.
Yeah.
Thanks for wrapping us up today. Great talk.
Thanks for being here. This is great.
All right, that's a wrap from the Mississippi Aerospace Defense Symposium at the Golden Nugget in Biloxi. Back with you in the Element Well studio in Jackson tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.